now.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
Hold on, Amy.
Leader.
You beautiful journalist, you. Where did I put music? Ah. Pause.
At this year's African Union Summit in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, have condemned Israel's assault on Gaza and called for its immediate end. The chair of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki, on Saturday said Israel's offensive was, quote, the most flagrant violation of international humanitarian law, and accused Israel of having, quote, exterminated Gaza's residents. Meanwhile, Azali Assoumani, president of the Comoros and the outgoing chairperson of the African Union, praised the case brought by South Africa against Israel at the International Court of Justice, where the court ruled there's plausible case that Israel's committing genocide in Gaza. During last year's AU summit, an Israeli delegate was removed from the plenary hall amidst
because we were talking about it earlier, but not all of you were here, I assume. We looked up the definition of the word plausibly, and as it turns out, according to Oxford.com, the most close synonym, or the definition of plausibly, is probably. So the ICJ has declared that Israel is probably committing genocide.
Agreement over Israel's observer status at the African Union. For more, we're joined by Nanjala Nyabola, a writer and political analyst from Kenya, joining us from London. Thank you so much for being with us, Nanjala. If you can start off on Gaza, this meeting this past weekend in Ethiopia, where you even had Lula, the president of Brazil, coming to address the group and saying that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza, whereupon Israel's prime minister said that Lula is persona non grata in Israel. But talk about the significance of the meeting on Gaza, and then we'll move on to other issues.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Amy. I think it's important to understand that the African Union as a bloc has been a consistent supporter of Palestinian rights since 1972 and arguably since 1948. Many of African nations see similarities between, and they see really an identical experience between Palestinian occupation and what they have endured as under colonization. And so there's a lot of empathy there, and there's a lot of resonance there. It's important, though, to distinguish the position of the African Union from the position of individual member states. So while the Union itself has been consistent and has always held the line that Palestinian independence was an integral part of the African Union's foundational documents and foundational position in international relations, various African nations, because there is no impetus from the African Union for there to be always a single position within each country, various African nations do have different relationships with both Israel and Palestine. So, for example, while every single country in Africa except one recognizes the state of Palestine, the recognition of the state of Israel has varied. There was a time in after the 1972 war where African nations wholesale declared that they would not recognize the state of Israel, but that has changed considerably. Similarly, in relation to the African Union itself, the Palestinian territories have had observer status at the African Union since 2013. And so you mentioned how the Israeli representative...
Oh, hello, Environmental Coffee House. Welcome. Welcome. Good to see you.
Of the to the African Union was asked to leave the meeting of the African Union in 2022. This is really because there's been a lot of back and forth about whether or not the African Union as a body should recognize Israel as a observer. Observers do not get to vote, obviously, on various issues that are before the African Union, but they do get to participate in meetings, and they do get to contribute to conversations in some ways. And so it is an important thing to be an observer at the African Union, and Israel has made significant diplomatic inroads in this regard. But the position of the African Union as which is
today.
The head of states, the meeting of the head of states is the most senior decision-making entity within the African Union, as opposed to the Commission, which oversees the day-to-day running of the organization. The position of the African Union heads of states has always been that Israel did not have that observer status, and this was the back and forth, that the Commission had taken an action that the Union itself had not endorsed, and this is why the Israeli representative was asked to leave. This remains a position of contention. And the increase of the violence in Gaza has only made it clear that the African Union is going to remain with the historical position, which is recognition of the Palestinian territories and a demand that there is adherence to international law on the issue of Palestine, and that includes the occupation. Predates October 7th, goes all the way back to every single UN resolution that has been passed on the issue to date. That's the official African Union position, and what we've seen in this last week is a reinforcement of that position, a reification of that position.
Nanjala Nyabola, you've spoken in the past about Namibia, which before Palestine was the last country where international law on occupation was tested. South Africa occupied Namibia until 1994. What were the lessons here, and how did they shape the knowledge of the terrain of occupation and its impact on people being occupied?
Well, it's really been one of the most interesting developments in international relations in relation to Gaza, is that we're finally seeing this recollection of the fact that African connection with Palestine is not a new thing, and there's been a long history of solidarity and support with liberation movements, particularly the ANC in South Africa and SWAPO in Namibia. So as you mentioned, Namibia was an occupied territory, was occupied by the apartheid government of South Africa until 1994. And SWAPO and the ANC both worked together to end that occupation, but also collaborated with the Palestinian Liberation Authority, Palestinian Liberation Organization, to try and coordinate whether it was political support at the international level, which was a crucial element of ending that, but also through the trusteeship mechanism. Namibia was under the UN trusteeship Commission, through the trusteeship mechanism, trying to find ways of negotiating independence for Namibia and protecting Namibia from further South African incursions. South African apartheid government's relationship with its neighbors was always fraught. There were frequent bombing campaigns that happened in Botswana. There was fighting in Mozambique and in Namibia, and so there was always this tension between the apartheid government and governments in the region. And so Palestine in that regard becomes a natural ally, because that experience of occupation is very similar. And so when we saw at the ICJ this week the Palestinian submission to the ICJ, there was this recollection of the fact that SWAPO and ANC have always been allies of Palestinian liberation. And what we're seeing with this Palestinian reinforcement of international law is not a new occurrence. It's something that South Africa and Namibia both learned keenly through the process of fighting for independence and the end of apartheid, and they would like to see it replicated in the way the Palestinian issue is handled at the international level. And that is, once again, this is what stick to the letter of the law, because this law exists for a reason, and this law came through for Namibia. Can it provide the same protection for Palestinian people?
Very interesting that at the International Court of Justice,
Absolutely, Environmental Coffee House. That's actually a good place for me to pause it, because I was waiting for a spot. And I mean, there's just so much stuff to keep up with right now, right? I mean, with the horrors that are happening in Gaza, I mean, that alone, the amount of media to try and consume with that, it's so easy to miss stuff. I honestly haven't even watched this yet, right? We're all watching this together for the first time. And I wish I had more context for the conversation. My knowledge of sub-Saharan conflicts it's somewhat limited. However, I mean, I'm aware of the fact that Kenya was a British colony for I think 40 years or something like that. And I mean, most of the African countries in one way or another were affected by Western colonialism in one way or another. Did I say that? Yeah.
Yesterday, in this 6-day hearing that's taking place, where more than a quarter of the UN's countries, it's the largest gathering ever, will be speaking against Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories. Namibia spoke, of course South Africa, which has brought this other case around the genocide case against Israel. And also you have the U.S. vetoing the UN security.
Sort of contributions you might have to the conversation.
Security Council resolution yesterday for a ceasefire that was brought by Algeria, a country that was occupied by France by more than a century. Nanjala, if you could address that and then move on to the DRC and the issues raised there around the warring that's going on in eastern Congo, and particularly around Rwanda's role with the M23.
So one of the important things to remember is that diplomatically at the international level, African countries are the most cohesive voting bloc, certainly at the United States.
No, it's very true. It is, it's always been a lifelong struggle, right? Learning and trying to educate oneself. I find this to be
other international
somewhat
forums.
Cathartic in
and
that
this is because,
respect.
again, as I mentioned, the African Union mechanisms for deliberation are actually incredibly strong. When there is an African line on an issue, there's a lot of negotiation that precedes that, but countries tend to vote by the line, and there tends to be very much a consistent diplomatic front. And this is one reason why Israel, for example, has tried very hard to make inroads with the diplomatic community in Africa, because on all of the votes that have come down the General Assembly that have consistently criticized Israel, even at the Security Council, anything that's managed to get through that has criticized Israel, African countries have consistently voted in favor of these resolutions. And so there is actually this bigger issue of numbers.
Certainly,
you know, we tend to think about power in international relations in terms of military strength and in terms of financial strength. But what Africa has at the international level is just sheer numbers. We're talking about 54 countries that have a very interconnected view of history and tend to work together and cooperate together and bring those numbers together for all of these international votes. And so Algeria is a big country on the continent.
I mean, certainly the region of Palestine and Israel has seen repeated back and forth warring and whatnot. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's this interesting, and maybe we'll watch it, but you know, the problem is that it is set to a very famous, very copyrighted song. So I don't think we can watch it. We'd have to watch it silently, which wouldn't be fun. Or as good.
Though it might
but there's this video, and if you want to look it up, it's to, I think it's a Sinatra song, but I can't remember the name of the song. It's like This Land Is Mine. Maybe that's not Sinatra, but it's one of those of that era, and the video is set to the song, and it basically is a historical animation of all of the documented sort of conflicts and wars that have happened on the land. I would search it. It's a very poignant video, like, and it really makes you think, you know, that we got to do something. We can't continue this conflict into the later 21st century. It's nonsense.
That way.
I didn't even see your comment. Economic, political, and religious reasons. Yeah, those are yes, those are top of the list. Maybe in that order.
Externally, but Algeria has been one of the most consistent defenders of Palestinian liberation on the continent, came out very strongly against Israeli diplomatic presence at the AU, came out very strongly in favor of Palestinian independence and supporting the Palestinian liberation organizations. And so it's not a surprise to see that Algeria at the Security Council would take this very strong position, because it is very consistent with Algerian diplomatic history. And as you said, it is because Algeria has endured several, decades of French occupation that culminated in one of the most violent wars of independence that we've really ever seen globally. And, France is still in the process of trying to make reparations for this, because for Algerians, it remains a very sore spot in history, and it remains to be a very fraught question between Franco-Algerian relationships. So I'm not surprised to see Algeria bring this resolution forward, just like,
French
as you've probably heard from American analysts. It was not.
Here's the thing that bugs me the most about non progressive media coverage of Africa it all comes with the consensus that somehow like all of that stuff is in the past and nobody should be talking about it, right? We're in the 21st century, but it still has downstream effects, and there are still, you know, technically places in Africa that are quasi colonies of these countries still. And beyond that, it's the framing of the China situation, because you're all, I'm sure, somewhat to very familiar with the Belt and Road initiative that China's been doing in Africa. And at least my perspective is that at least China is giving Africa help, right? Sure, they go and they're there, they're asking for things, resources and whatnot, because even though China's a very large place, they are somewhat resource shy, if you will, for the size of the geographical region. But if you ask Africans, they prefer the Chinese to American and Western powers, which is why the media frames it in this way. Israelites were slaves for nearly 400 years. The history of the region is fascinating. It is. Oh, it's absolutely fascinating. Sorry, I'm not paying attention. I'm talking too much. I'm not paying enough attention to the chat.
The UN voted, even though it was a disappointment that the US voted in the way that it did. And I think we're going to expect to see a lot more coordinated action being led by nations like Algeria, South Africa. All of these countries that have historically supported Palestinian liberation in Africa will continue to toe this line, because it is not just a question of it's a question of history. It's a question of solidarity. It's a question of shared experiences of all of these systemic types of violence.
And Nanjala, we only have less than a minute left, but I wanted to ask you about all of the heightened anti-colonial sentiment that has swept across Central Africa and the Sahel region, with numerous coups in the region in recent years. How has this affected the dynamics at the AU?
It's definitely complicated things, and there's probably three things that I would point out. One is that this is not happening in a vacuum. We are also feeling the secondary effects of the ongoing war in Ukraine, Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. The Sahel region has historically attracted a great deal of attention because it has been the crossroads of trade between Africa and Europe, but it's also been, in contemporary history, the main pathway through which migrants from as far afield as Bangladesh, but also from the continent, cross the Mediterranean to get into southern Europe. So in terms of international diplomacy, it's attracted a great deal of attention from Europe. There's a great deal of financing for migration management. There's a great deal of financing for ending wars that have happened in the region. At the same time, you have this young generation. Remember that Africa is the youngest continent in the world. You have this young generation, many of these cool leaders.
Oh my God. Did you hear Amy clear her throat when they threw the credits up? She was like, what are you guys doing? Oh God, she's such a pro.
I have to wrap there, but we're going to continue and post online at democracynow.org. Nanjana Nubola, speaking to us from...
But just to put some context to what I was saying before there, like I actually have a couple of friends in Africa who have said the same, the thing that I was just saying. And while it's anecdotal, I have also heard a great number of the same opinion on YouTube videos of more reputable people than my friends. And actually, one of them happens to be in Kenya, just like the woman who we were just listening to. Okay, what is next on the list? Let us find out. Wait, where did my list go? Oh no. Hold on, folks. Ah, there we are. There we are. Oh, God. Have we hit ICJ day 3 now? Oh, no. This is the downer part of the... Okay, let's speed through this. At least this way it'll be easier for me to talk to chat, because some of this will be unbearable. Wow, that's actually sounding loud. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I did spend a good deal of time. Wait, hold on. What is that? Now that I'm actually looking at chat, what the heck is? What is that you said? You met her in D.C. when she spoke at a church in 2017. Went to the climate march, and my friend surprised me with Amy. My God, that's a fantastic surprise. One might say the surprise of a lifetime. I mean, Amy Goodman is a legend. I mean, at least in leftist circles, that is impressive. But yes, thank you for the comment about my graphics. I did spend not too much time, but a bit of effort and time on trying to make it all work out. This is actually the zoomed in version. This is the zoomed out version of at least this. I have a number of different sort of, what do you call it, like scenes and other things depending on what I'm working on. Bella Lugrisi, you met Amy about 25 years ago in Harrison. What is up with you two meeting? Am I the only person who hasn't met Amy Goodman? What am I doing wrong in my life? Somebody guide me, please. Okay, back to the ICJ. Which, as I've already established, they have already made clear that Israel is probably, which is the definition of plausibly, committing a genocide. So, however you want to interpret the word probably. Oh, gotta switch back. Oh, you and Bella know each other in real life. Interesting. Okay. So you two are like a dynamic duo, huh? I like that dynamic a lot. I will say, though, that makes me feel slightly better about not having met Amy Goodman, because you both know each other. So, thinking there might be something slightly less of a coincidence going on there. I'm gonna fast forward through some of the completely unnecessary, like lawyers sipping water. Pretty sure that's not of importance. I think I saw people standing up, so this must be where it starts. There we go. You have a circle of our family, SP. What does SP mean? Sorry. Sorry, I'm missing the relevance of it. So to speak, I'm sorry. I'm not... My vision of chat was blocked by something. We have a circle of our family, so to speak. Yes, I like that very much. The SP was messing with my brain. For some reason, it didn't want to read that as a sentence in any way. Indeed, no. The online family is very real. The leftist community is pretty tight. You know, we see a lot of the same faces in chat over and over again. Sure, of course, it's a varied and diverse group, but you know, there's a small but tight knit number of cliques, I would say, out there, of very leftist sort of individuals who sort of orbit leftist spaces. I myself am somewhat of a YouTube chat monster.
La Cour se réunit ce matin pour entendre la Colombie, Cuba, l'Égypte, les Émirats Arabes Unis et
I mean
les
that in the best
États-Unis
way
d'Amérique
possible, of course.
sur les questions soumises à elles par l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies
He's speaking in French.
relatives aux conséquences juridiques
I can
découlant des
understand this, but
politiques
where's
et pratiques d'Israël
where are the
dans
captions?
le territoire palestinien
Unavailable.
occupé, y compris Jérusalem-Est. Permettez-moi de rappeler que chaque délégation doit respecter
Okay, he's saying he's
le temps
called.
imparti pour sa
They've
présentation.
called to expect. I can't live translate this. We're not going to do this. Is not what we're doing. I was not expecting this. I had this all set up. I was like, okay, this is gonna be fine. Oh my god, I'm sorry, folks. That's a mistake on my end. It's just we indeed. Okay, live stream failure. Let's take two. For some reason, Associated Press. This video has been up for like hours and hours. I put this on my playlist way earlier today. And they still don't have closed captions working? My god, you're the Associated Press. What is this? It's Bush League. That's what this is. Okay. How am I supposed to even... There must be another one. Oh, that puts... You know what? We'll go back to ICJ. It wasn't going to be fun anyways, ICJ. It was going to be very dry. What are these messages? Hold on. I'm not the brightest crayon in the box. Everyone says I'm dumber than a bag of rocks. I barely even know how to put on my own pants. But I'm a genius in France. Yeah, genius in France. Genius in France. Okay, Environmental Coffee House. You shut down. You do what you gotta do. And I hope to see you later. Okay, let's watch this.
The things you've said have changed my life and changed the direction.
Actually, I want to do this in a different order. Let's do this in a different order. Let's do it like this. Yes. Okay, I'm not sure. You may all have or may not have seen this. Oh, it was a Weird Al Zappa parody. Sorry. I'm afraid I am slightly under par, or over par, I guess you would say, if you're sticking with golf analogies, on Frank Zappa. What's it called? Frank Zappa references and songs in general. Okay, back to this. We have at least found something else to watch that isn't in a different language without captions. There we go. Okay.
The attack on October 7th was a terrorist attack that caused the...
And just for some context, this is the Cinema for Peace in Berlin, which just happened over the weekend, I believe, where Hillary Clinton was one of the guests of honor. I know, chat. I know. That sounds like an oxymoron, and I have no refute. I have no refute to that. So, I'm gonna click this. Do I ever show my face? Not. I have not. That's not what I've been doing. If people want to see my mouth moving, what I have been doing is this. This is. Let's see. Wait, I actually turned it off. I turned off my Galactic camera. I am what is often referred to as PNG tuber. So that's me, and it's me talking. This is my serious face. Although I'm on the wrong side of the screen, which is not where I'm supposed to be. Okay. If that makes you, if that makes it better for you. What was I doing? Ah, yes.
Hillary Clinton, how dare you speak about human rights while Palestinians are being murdered in the name of protections of human rights? It has nothing to do with human rights. It has nothing to do with the protection of Jewish people. All you care is about white supremacy. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah, I know it's a little weird. I know. None shall pass. It's nothing but a flesh wound. It's a bit of a LARP environmental coffee house. I am the Galactic Stream Lord, and I reside here on the Galactic Space Station, revolving Earth, fighting off Elon Musk and Jeffy Bezos. As you can see, maybe you can't. You have to zoom in on it, but if you look at the messages here, that's one of my main goals on my post-it notes. But yeah, that's me. You want to be an avatar? You can always be an avatar, and if you want help with it, I'm already in your Discord, so we can talk more about that. Okay, back to the serious stuff.
Free Palestine!
Israel is not defending itself. It's a genocide that you're paying for. And then you talk about women's rights? Are you serious? What women's right are you talking about? There's a genocide committed by the USA, the government that you're standing under, and now you're speaking cinema for peace. We are watching a cinema of genocide.
We are in a democratic country, and everybody's free to vote for the politicians that he wants to vote for.
Be ashamed of yourself! Free Palestine! You have blood on...
There's another video which I can't find, unfortunately, where it shows the protesters being dragged off. You kind of saw it there, like at the very end, but there's better video of this. I wish I could find. I looked for a little while this afternoon, couldn't find it. But it's pathetic. I mean, they have this Secret Service at the I'm sorry, what's it called again? The Awards for Peace, whatever it's called, right? Film for Peace. Think about the irony of that. The Secret Service who protects presidents who commit war crimes and fund war crimes and have Hillary Clinton to come talk. I mean, it's crazy.
About the Palestinian people whose rights you deny.
I'm glad you're having fun, Environmental Coffee House. That's the whole point of this stream. That and, well, leftist solidarity.
You have been responsible for the killings of hundreds of Pakistanis. You have supported wars in Afghanistan, in Iraq, all over the Middle East. You are a war criminal. You are a hypocrite. Shame on you.
There we go.
Shame on all of you.
There we go. This is what I was talking about. Just full on grabbing this guy. People. And did you hear the one clap there? Like, and I have a couple more videos for this that are gonna I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself on, but like, think about it. Like, the number of hypocrisies that are happening here currently are ridiculous. And then you have somebody clapping for somebody being tackled who is speaking for peace at a film festival for peace. I have no words.
Israel's assault on Gaza to hunt down those responsible for the
the Ray McGovern treatment.
You have said this is wrong. Still, are you not shocked by the
Bella.
civilian casualty numbers in Gaza?
It's well played.
Of course, I'm not shocked because that's what happens in war. But I'm
one sentence: we Palestinians wake up every morning to teach the rest of the world life.
These people here yelling at Hillary Clinton are heroes with the bravery of 1,000 soldiers, and it is, it is good on them for coming to this place and speaking up, because who else was going to do it? I mean, the very organization here being touted as one for and of peace is bringing a person like Hillary Clinton to talk, and it's antithetical to everything it's supposed to speak to. We need more of this kind of stuff with group climate defiance and just stop oil in the environmental arena to wake people up. It's a great point. It's a great point. And there's definitely some people doing that, and it's being suppressed with a ferocious and systematic approach. And it's beyond concerning. It's alarming. It makes you wonder, lots of things. All right, I'm going to stop being such a doomer. We're going to push forward through this whole terrible festival.
The things you've said have changed my life and changed the direction.
Like,
and changed
here's Sharon Stone, who is a supposed committed advocate for change and for rights, wearing what I assume is an incredibly expensive outfit. I mean, she's worth millions and millions of dollars. And here she is, just glad-handing and, giving Hillary Clinton that sort of treatment that you'd give a superhero who's just done something fantastic.
The course of the things I've chosen to do. Sitting on the floor near your feet while you were talking in a room one day, I'm sure you didn't even know I was there. You said, you can do anything. You should do anything.
Seriously though, what do you think that gaudy ass coat costs? Can we be real? My guess it's definitely 4 figures. It's my guess is $5,000. Normal human beings can't afford whatever she's wearing right now.
You should do everything. And women in the world, I want you to hear this again. Secretary Clinton said, you have to do everything, you must do everything. And I think a lot about that because we're each like our own little puzzle piece. If we don't fulfill ourselves completely, the person next to us, the puzzle piece next to us won't know when they've fully clicked in. It's our responsibility to completely become our whole selves so that we...
This speech sounds more like some yoga teacher at some, $10,000 a head conference in Napa Valley or something, more than she does an advocate for peace while it is just, wow. Hey, Environmental Coffee House is the winner, according to Nightbot. I don't make the rules, Nightbot does.
Fill the whole puzzle. And Mrs. Clinton teaches us how to do that with her actions.
Oh, I didn't even see your question. When's the last movie she made? I don't know if she's worth as much as you think anymore. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Let's look up some stuff about Miss Stone. Make sure I'm not unintentionally mischaracterizing her. By the way, I'm kind of leading up to something. I actually have something to say for this. I just can't remember where I put it. But oh, found it. So this is an article. Hold on. I'm going to switch real quick. You've walked right into my trap, Environmental Coffee House, and I honestly appreciate you for it. Where is that? Right there. This is an article on a page called Page 6. That's weird. I feel like I'm having a stroke. Page called Page 6. Anyway, this is Sharon Stone, who has reported. This is the beginning of the article. It's a very odd way to start it, but it's the way it starts. Sharon Stone, who has reported net worth, and by the way, it was published in February 13th. So this is 8 days ago. Sharon Stone, who has reported net worth of $40 million, whined about the price of being rich and famous. Quote, "You go to dinner and there's 15 people at the table, and who gets the check? You get the $3,000 dinner check every single time," Stone complained in an interview with InStyle published Tuesday. The Basic Instinct actress, 65, further moaned that it's very expensive to be famous. Some of her costs include her newly purchased home as well as the fees for her security staff, publicists, makeup artists, and managers. However, the movie star is anything but stingy when it comes to get. But do you see? Do you see? Hey, B-Cat in the chat. Raptors up. What was I saying? Yes. But yeah, like it's you know, like I wish that you were right and that she was somehow like coming from a better place with all this, but it if this is even 50% right, it's pretty clear where she's coming from. Nightbot, hey, don't you tell people what to do. Don't listen to Nightbot. That is rude. Nightbot. Hold on. I'm going to do something real quick because that's unacceptable. Spamming emotes is not only allowed, it's encouraged here. I have to open up Nightbot's command center here. Give me a moment. Oh my god, did you see that? What? Oh my god, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Hold the heck on. I'm turning this off. I did not realize YouTube had these settings. It's not the same for Twitch. Whew. It just auto-deleted her comments. It was incredibly rude. And I've now fixed it, but am completely sad and disappointed by that. However, I think we fixed it. That made me sweat. That was so upsetting. YouTube. I mean, Nightbot just went rogue on us. Okay. So, we just did Sharon Stone and her incredibly out-of-touch comments. What's next on our list? I know we got more. Seriously, Nightbot, full buzzkill. You're in timeout right now, Nightbot. But by the way, BCat, there's a bunch of commands in here, and if you start searching, you might find some stuff that exists or used to exist in MR, or whatever is currently in limbo. Yeah, it feels like my fault, but I was completely unaware that Nightbot had that level of permissions on YouTube chat. That was unexpected. Oh, right. This was more of what we were talking about earlier. Let's watch this as well. I've got a bunch of stuff that I found very interesting.
To the latest in the war between Israel.
Slow down. We're not ready for that. Hold on. Gotta switch screens. There we go. You wouldn't even know how to use Nightbot. Well, you're not the only person. That is more common than it is not. I just happen to be one of those sorts of weird people with enough computer knowledge to be able to navigate it. You've seen it before? Okay, that does make me feel better. Thank you, Bika. You get me.
To the latest in the war between Israel and Hamas, there are fresh warnings this morning about mass starvation in Gaza and new concerns about the struggle to get humanitarian aid in to people there. Canada is once again appealing for an immediate ceasefire to make it easier to move in aid.
We need unimpeded humanitarian access for the aid to go in. That's what we've been saying from the very beginning. We need everyone involved to take all the steps necessary to enable the aid to get in without any obstacles.
That is International Development Minister Ahmed Hussein in Egypt near the Rafah border crossing. That's one of the two routes for relief supplies moving into Gaza. Minister Is repeating a ceasefire call Ottawa made last week when Canada...
By the way, we were looking at an image of that before, and so I said it before the stream, but not everybody who's here now was here before, and I'm just going to say it again. That warehouse, like, it was a different video or whatever, but that warehouse is just too... like, that is not enough food to feed 2 million people. You know? Like, maybe if it's one bowl of rice a day, you got like a week, and then what?
Joined with Australia and New Zealand in urging Israel to reconsider a planned ground offensive into Rafah in southern Gaza. This morning, Israel's military says there's intensive fighting in Khan Yunis, not far from Rafah, and in parts of Gaza City in the north as well. Abby Kugathasan is covering the story today. And Abby, let's begin with a major development on aid. The World Food Program halting its relief shipments into northern Gaza. Why is it having to take that drastic step?
Heather, the World Food Program says that Gaza is hanging on by a thread, but it's being forced to suspend its aid shipments to the north of the enclave once again. And it says it has to do that now because civil order has broken down in that area, that desperate and hungry people are...
I mean, the thing about this that absolutely flattens me is that the World Food Program, right, a UN organization, which... basically its only job is to go into war-torn areas and feed hungry refugees and people of that nature, are saying, no, this is too crazy for us. Like, we're having too many casualties to do our job, which is basically risking our lives, right? Think about that. Like, to make that calculation, like, first off, it must have been... Oh, I'm sure a CBC plans on skewing it all the way, but I'm here to provide context.
Including the truck that even are able to make it up to that area after months of aerial bombardment that has essentially...
I'm glad you like the drop kicking. That command is everyone level, so if you ever feel like someone needs to be drop kicked out of an airlock, it is yours to use.
Decimated in northern Gaza. We know that last month the United Nations said that 300,000 Palestinians were still in that area, and this is aid that is absolutely life-saving and that they'll no longer get it. So certainly concerned now that a desperate situation will get even more desperate. Now moving to Deir al-Balah, the Associated Press is reporting that 44 bodies were brought to a hospital by ambulances and private vehicles. They say that the reporters saw this happen. If we move even further south into Gaza City, some optimistic pictures, Heather, of people carrying flour sacks. These sacks of flour were provided by the United Nations at a distribution center. There are people, as we've seen across the enclave, waiting for hours and hours for some of these basic food necessities.
You're not familiar with CBC? It's CBC is a Canadian broadcasting company. I believe that's the name of it. At least I do know it's the major Canadian broadcasting network. And to be honest, this is some of the more what do you call it? Subdued coverage they excuse me. There's more subdued coverage that they've had of the Israel-Gaza conflict. The beginning of this all, they're basically Sky News, you know, like they were on the full-on IDF train. So, like, honestly, the fact that they're even covering the starvation currently the mass starvation that's being, you know, done to these people, it's absolutely it's a miracle
that they absolutely require. We've heard stories of people saying that when they didn't have flour, they were using animal feed to cook and provide for their families. And now even further south, of course, all eyes certainly on Rafah. We have some footage provided to us by a freelance camera operator. He says this is footage that he took after an Israeli airstrike. There's some wreckage there, people gathering around a destroyed vehicle. Rafah, of course, now holding about 1.4 million Palestinians. It used to be home to about 100,000, so certainly a densely packed area. And of course, it's become very much a tent city. And as we know, there is much concern globally about a possible IDF ground incursion in the coming weeks, Heather.
Abby, one of the big stories we had last week on the war was the raid by Israeli forces on Nasser Hospital in Gaza, that important medical complex raided. There are new developments on Nasser Hospital today. What is the latest?
If you're not already picking up on it, that phrasing is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the way that they use raided, it makes it sound like they had drugs at the hospital. They attacked it. They invaded it. Okay? Let's use more accurate language, huh, CBC?
Yes, the World Health Organization...
They went in there and against the Geneva Conventions, used disguises to pose as civilians and then committed a war crime.
It says that it was able to evacuate more patients.
This is insanity. I can't stand it. Totally Fair Environmental Coffee House. I feel like we're all taking crazy. At least I certainly feel like I'm taking crazy pills most days.
That medical complex, the largest hospital in southern Gaza. They say 32 critically wounded people, including children, were evacuated from that complex, but they do accuse Israeli officials of impeding access to that hospital. Officials with the World Health Organization say that there's no electricity at that complex. It is no longer functioning. Here's one representative talking about what he saw there.
We were shocked.
Real quick. This is actually not relating to the video, but Bella, what is this debris, and what were you expecting from it? Because I'm not only interested, but I'd like to enact whatever it is you're trying to do. It's in my power.
What we actually saw in
Nasser
Medical Complex, there's waste everywhere. Electricity was not working. Parts of the hospital are damaged and some severely damaged. We should immediately start rebuilding and making sure that Nasser Medical Complex remains and becomes functional again.
I've heard of Delulu Islands. That's somewhere in the south, right? Below the Mason-Dixon line.
Heather, we know that sexual and gender-based violence always a concern in conflicts like this one. The UN is investigating allegations of rape and mutilation by Hamas militants on October 7th, and now there's a UN report that says there are credible allegations against IDF soldiers of rape and strip searches against Palestinian women and girls. Israel denies this.
Oh. We're just jumping into a completely different topic that, well, let's just do it. Actually, I'll give you some small context. This is a video about horseshoe crabs, which generally tend to live in the Gulf of Mexico, and like just the very, very south. And I think there's another climate they live in. I just can't remember it. And, we're just going to skip past locating every horseshoe crab. Let's just focus in on this. It's in the Tennessee River Delta, no doubt. Yeah, I think BCAT is right on with that comment. Oh, they're not talking, so I'll just read. So let me go back to the beginning and read what they're saying. Okay, hold on. These horseshoe crabs are hooked up to a first-of-its-kind tracking system that could be the key to preventing their extinction. The local population of juvenile horseshoe crabs is estimated to be less than 10,000. And conservationists are hoping to learn more about the threats that they face. After receiving the data, we hope to analyze it to understand the habits, behavioral patterns, and the scope of the life of adult horseshoe crabs inhabiting Hong Kong. Oh, they also live in Hong Kong. Interesting. Well, we just got some more information we were looking for unintentionally. How fantastic! Sometimes life just happy accidents, you know.
會唔會有啲其他嘅環境因素會有影響到？我哋可以多啲知道呢一方面咧，可以令到我哋將來做得更加好嘅保育措施。
Now here's the thing. My understanding of the situation is that horseshoe crabs have been on the decline for many years. Like I think the last 30 has been pretty dramatic, from my understanding. the thing that people may not know, wait, hold on, Bella Lugrisi is trying to educate us, so let me shut up. Horseshoe crabs, the only living member of the order Zyvosaur. The fossil record of Zyvosaur goes back over 440 million years to the Ordovician period, with the oldest representatives of the modern living family Lemulidae, dating to approximately 215 million years ago during the early Triassic. They're literally living fossils. That's absolutely all accurate, I believe. Happen to know a thing or two about early Triassic stuff. But there may be something that you're all unaware of that makes horseshoe crabs an incredibly important aspect of our biome. The horseshoe crab, or at least not necessarily the biome itself, I've misspoken. They're part of the biome, so I haven't necessarily misspoken, but it's just not 100% accurate in what I'm trying to say. Yes, we do appreciate the, yes, I do. We really do appreciate that information, Bella. BCAT is right. And killing them off is totally whack. However, there is one use by humans of horseshoe crabs, which is, how do you say it? It's like, it's literally, it is incredibly vital to the it's very odd, and it's hard to explain it, but it relates to the quality checking of medicines. Okay, it's a very important, the blood of horseshoe crabs, and it sounds absolutely barbaric, but the blood of horseshoe crabs is used in the medical field to detect bacteria in medicines that are being made. There is something within the blood of horseshoe crabs called LAL. I can't remember what that acronym stands for because I'm not looking at at like a description of this. I'm just kind of going off of my memory, but LAL is used in the manufacture of pharmaceuticals to keep tainted pharmaceuticals from going out onto the market, as there is something in it that detects bacteria. This is a visually pleasing channel. I appreciate that. You know, I try to do my very best. You know, it's always been a work in progress. I actually started streaming a number of years ago, not even doing politics, but just sort of fun, doing games during the pandemic when I was bored. Had to take a break because of some life situations and the Galactic space station having some problems. And then I finally decided to get back at it, and I'm just really glad to be doing it. And I'm also really glad to have you wonderful people here sharing in the experience with me. Okay, what was I doing? I was doing a thing. Ah, yes, we're switching from horseshoe crabs to something else. Why is it always doing this to me? The ecosystem. I'm not sure what that's in context to, but I agree. I'm a big fan of the ecosystem and it being a thing and not being destroyed. That would be my number one sort of desire. Wait, why did I just get shoved out of here? Don't do this to me. Why? So many music suggestions. There it is. Found it. Okay, we just got through horseshoe crabs. You know what? After both of those things, I almost want to do this. Because I feel like after those two somewhat depressing things, I feel we could use something to pick us up.
You know, or we
stop being small player. Don't give me small player, give me big boy player. There we go. Attaboy. Full screen me.
could just not bomb anyone. I think it's another alternative. Politics ain't funny. Oh, you don't like everything.
You think that we're decimating it, the planet, the ecosystem? I think it's very hard to argue that against it.
American taxpayers, isn't it about time that we get a little bit of say?
Yes, Bella is right. I actually have heard about that. That's another aspect of that's another problem with that situation, and I wish there was a better. I really wish science would find a better solution to keeping bacteria out of our medicines. Unfortunately, I don't have the personal ability to fix it, and all I can do is at least comment on it, have us talk about it, try to opine in some way on it so that we can all be more aware of what's happening. Hopefully there's a solution to this. I'm just not currently at hand. Oh, you love Sammy Obeid, DCAT? You know, that makes a lot of sense to me.
In which countries we want to bomb? Isn't it about time? Because I think Greenland could get it right now. Because we got to bomb somewhere. God forbid the shareholders at Lockheed Martin can't feed their kids as boats.
Oh, that'd be a tragedy. Boats
So I
eat
vote
a lot.
Greenland. Get out the aggression. Take it out on Greenland. It's the most humane country to bomb. It's got the lowest population density. I looked it up. It's mostly ice. Help them melt it. I already got the hashtag, Go Green. Okay? I see a lot of you pulling back because you're like, oh, why poor Greenland? They're so innocent. Greenland is not innocent.
Really, though?
Did you know
like,
they attacked us?
I know it's a joke, but we do need Greenland
Yeah.
to be
You guys
ice.
heard of the Titanic? Who's on that?
It's fantastic environmental.
Yeah, a rogue iceberg that splintered off of Greenland and was radicalized by the Atlantic Ocean. We need to stop.
that iceberg is armed exactly as much as it should be. I'm really glad that you're enjoying this. You know, I'm enjoying it myself, so hey, I can enjoy it with other people.
Radical Atlantic terrorism. Do you know that Greenland every year dumps thousands of tons of water into our oceans? Yeah, they're trying to slowly drown us as a part of a larger campaign to heat up our planet called the greenhouse effect. Wake up, sheeple! They sunk one ship. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, or we could just not bomb anyone. I think it's another alternative. Politics ain't funny. That one too, I guess. You want to... Oh, you don't like everything that I'm talking about, basically. Is that what's going on? Pretty much. Well, you're out of luck for the next 30 minutes, dude. Bro. Politics.
What I'd love to know is how that person got to this man's show. How do you get to this guy's show and not know what's about to come? I feel like someone played a joke.
Ain't funny. That's got to be the worst take I ever heard, bro. Politics is some funny man.
Room, right?
What's up?
Read the room.
Read the room. Yeah, exactly.
Room red. It looks like the room would like some politics, please. Oh, whoa, bunch of messages. Hold on. No, I don't want to interrupt his comedic timing here. But am I using Ecamm Live or the StreamYard? Neither. I'm using neither. I'm using Streamlabs OBS. The first time I started streaming, I used original OBS Studio, and then I eventually navigated over to Streamlabs. The power produced by the falling water during peak melt periods on Greenland's ice sheet is comparable to the power produced by the Three Gorges Dam in China. That makes a lot of sense. Bella Lugrisi is just full of facts today, guys. Yeah, no, I mean, why not have a little fun? You know, leftists deserve to have fun too, okay? We can't always just be angry and yelling, okay? I mean, not that there isn't a time for the anger and the yelling, but it does feel like we deserve it, right? I mean, MR has an entire half supposedly devoted to fun. I mean, I would argue it's since Palestine, it's been somewhere between 30 and 70% fun. But you know, I feel like maybe I'm just being a little critical. You know, they do their very best over there.
Room red.
Bella seems like an encyclopedic knowledge of a great number of facts that I can barely keep up with.
To make it clear,
Yeah, I wanted the same thing, but yep.
everybody loves political comedy, just not at the same time. That's how it works. You hear the comedian say something you like, you laugh, and then you wait till they say something you like again, and then you laugh, and then for the rest, you politely shut your freedom hole. That's how you enjoy comedy in the US of A. Somebody commented on one of my posts, "Oh, Israel-Palestine is this guy's whole personality. That's all he talks about in his set now." So it's such like a Gen Z thing to say. I heard that, I was like, that's so mid, dude. I just responded like, say less, king. Totally cringe. Oh, Israel-Palestine, this guy's whole personality. It's like, no,
Oh my
I like
God.
math too, okay?
I think
I wish I was just talking about math right now, dude. But I can't because I have a heart, okay? I'm so sorry. I wish that I could be just talking about Pythagorean theorem right now, you know? But I can't because it feels like the triangle is burning down right now. I wish I could be telling people about a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But I'm out here trying to put out A's fire. I'm trying to put out B's fire, and that requires a C's fire. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? Even if you disagree with me, you
This
gotta
guy
admit that is
can
the right
full
angle.
circle anything. I swear to God.
No refunds.
I think that's the thing about him that I like the most is his ability to think on the fly and be able to just very quickly put together things that like audience members have said, or wait until the the right moment to be able to put that one down. It's just so good.
That my topic matter is not the most popular for stand-up comedy. And that's why I like to ask the crowd, is there anything that I didn't talk about tonight that you'd love for me to talk about? More about Joe Biden? Well, good, okay, I can do. What else? Sex? Dark matter? Okay, well, all right, we got a lot. We can do this. We can do this. We can get through this. Speaking of somebody who should not have any more sex, Joe Biden. That guy's on his last, okay? He is. He ain't got none left, bro. Forget even about the politics of what's going on right now. Like, he's too old to be president. He's too old to be president. And people get offended when you say that, even though he can't hear us. He's too old to be president. Voting for Joe Biden is basically voting to watch someone die at their job. It's f***ed up. It's cruel. Even if you don't like him, it's cruel. Do you even think he wants to be president? Let him go in an old folks' home, dude. He's getting tased every day by Jill. The establishment gave Jill the taser. They're just going at it every day. But people get offended. Oh, that's ageism.
Is there a
That's
channel called
ageism.
Dark
Yeah,
Matter?
there's an age that isn't good to be president. Let's figure it out. I've never in my life voted Republican or Democrat, and I never will. I never will. I know that's a controversial thing to say in Texas, where your votes actually do count. I'm from California, where we can vote for fairies if we want to, okay? Doesn't matter. It's always going to be a Democrat. What about Trump? God bless him. Is that what you wanted?
Oh, just got to respond to this comment in chat. BCat, you're 110% correct. That number just doesn't seem right. And either way, it's not the right age to be president. You're not supposed. It's not old enough to be president, to be perfectly frank. However, there is something you can do about this, because I have Biden age, the command Biden age turned down to 5 seconds. So if you feel it necessary to get his age correct, you go right ahead. I have now disciplined Nightbot, and they will not be giving you trouble. So spam away if that's how you feel inside.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's crazy. What's that? You went on a sharp transition there from... Okay, you're not going to do Trump, but how about sex with 2 girlfriends? That'll satisfy my urge.
What a right turn.
I'm not some kind of chauvinist who just goes around having sex with 2 girlfriends. What would I just grab them by the p***s? That's not cool.
Anything else?
Any beef with Jordan and Egypt? Like any issues with them not taking people?
Oh my God. That phrasing right there is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sorry, phrasing is the wrong word. That framing, the framing of this, and I've heard it way too many times now. I think we all have, right? Like the suggestion, I mean, it's racist to begin with, right? Secondly, it's nonsense because nobody in their right mind is doing the same thing in other circumstances. It's just this one situation where nobody can come up with any better ideas than why don't the Arabs just take them because they're also Arab. They couldn't possibly have different cultural histories. The Palestinians couldn't possibly want to stay where they are. Why don't they just leave? You know? It's ignorant and it's fucked up and it might not be overtly or like people people don't see it as racist, but it is in fact racist. And that's why they continue to frame it this way. If they took a second to actually, I don't know, consider what they're really saying, I think they would never say that again.
They should elect Trump president. We're gonna build a wall. He's talking about Jordan and Egypt not letting Palestinians in. Is anybody here from California? Yeah. Okay, yeah. See, Californians, we're like the Palestinians of, right? Texas doesn't want us. Arizona doesn't want us. If they would put up a wall, they could, but we fortunately have airports.
That's the fun thing about voting. We're talking about Biden and Trump. People are realizing how important the Arab American vote is. This is the year where people go like, oh, maybe we should actually play to that base. Is there Arab Heritage History Month? It's April. We're in Black History Month, right? Black History Month is February. I've always said it's all out of order. I think they should have done.
Also, why is it incumbent on other countries when they're already in their own country? Totally fair. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make, BCAT. Well said. And one of the themes of this stream, granted I was streaming earlier so it got cut off, but we were talking about a lot of this stuff, and we started doing some digging into some things, right, in terms of Palestine and its countryhood, because this whole thing keeps getting framed as if Palestine has power, as if Palestine is a country, as if they have a military, as if it's a state, but it's not. The more and more I look into it, they're not recorded as, like, we were looking up GDP earlier. Palestine wasn't on it, right? And it's like Israel keeps trying to play like Palestine is a thing, like it's a state, but is really just a concentration camp in the middle of Israel, right? They don't let anybody out, and they don't allow them to enact their own government because they're uncomfortable with it or whatever it is. Anyway,
by order, humans spent the first half of history in Africa, so I think
ranting
Black
again
should be from January through June, and then the rest of the 6 months should be split accordingly. Middle Eastern history would be like July, August. It's the hot months. It's fitting. Because we all came from Africa. You guys all know that. That's where we're all from originally. Like, even if that, like, pisses you off or offends you, like, before that, we came from space, and space is black. What are you going to say to that?
Yes. Space, the original
I'm just
Africa.
saying, before Black Lives Matter, there was dark matter. That's all that I'm saying. Thank you so much. I'm Sammy Obey. Thanks for coming out. I love you all.
You did it. Full circle. Oh, what have I done? Stop this. Stop this madness. Yep. Don't go too far. Thank you, YouTube. Oh, wait, no, we already watched this. Although, you know what? Since I have you guys here, we're going to watch this again. It used to be until, yeah, absolutely, you got, yeah. I guess, I think you knew exactly what I meant, though, because I certainly wasn't suggesting that they weren't there before. It's just about the actual power dynamic that's currently happening, and the fact that nobody seems to want to examine it, and the way it's being framed in the media. So, I'll just continue saying things into the ether and to you individuals until it sticks somewhere, hopefully.
ChatGPT.
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 Two things we've been constantly hearing about lately are artificial intelligence and Israel's war on Palestine's Gaza. So it wasn't too long before someone had the bright idea to ask ChatGPT for comments on what was happening in the Middle East. Hey ChatGPT, do Israelis deserve to live free? ChatGPT's response: yes, just like any other group of people, they deserve to live in freedom and security. Just like any good Western politician, when asked about Palestinians, ChatGPT started to dodge the bullet. You know, the whole "it's complicated" or the "I am a language model" excuse. Although ChatGPT is the most famous among its AI brothers and sisters, it is hardly the only influential AI model in our daily lives. Social media sites regularly make use of artificial intelligence and algorithms for a variety of different purposes. One of these is translation. In 2017, a Palestinian construction worker from the occupied West Bank had posted this picture with a caption in Arabic that said, "Good morning." Facebook translation algorithm translated the Arabic caption into...
This is going to be a theme in this video, but this stuff, it's going to become clear that this is less of a bug and more of a feature type situation, if you're familiar with the phrase.
English and Hebrew as "attack them, hurt them." The Palestinian man was arrested and questioned for hours, according to Israeli newspaper Haaretz. Facebook later apologized for its mistake. When pressed for an explanation as to why these incidents of recurring anti-Palestinian bias are happening, Big Tech resorts to the generic, go-to answer, technical glitches. In October of this year, Instagram users who had the word Palestinian in their bios, accompanied by a Palestinian flag, along with the phrase Alhamdulillah in Arabic, started noticing a disturbing trend.
You guys may know, since it's linked in my profile, this is my Instagram. So a lot of Palestinians, at least that I personally know, have a bio similar to this, if not verbatim this. So Palestinian in Arabic, which that'll be relevant. Palestinian flag, and then this phrase, which is Alhamdulillah, or for my non-Arabic speakers or non-Muslims, it just means praise be to God. And what does Instagram translate it to?
When checking how their bios appeared in English, they discovered Instagram's translation, praise be to...
Okay, so I want you guys to look at this and ask yourself, what's going on here, right? So the phrase praised be to God in Arabic is being translated to praised be to God. Palestinian terrorists are fighting for their freedom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 more words added to what's supposed to be a 4-word phrase. It seems much less of a coincidence and much more of an intentional act. I mean, it just seems odd. Even AI. It makes more sense to me that a human has done this, right? Because humans work at these places. You know, it's not just algorithms and AI, and people make decisions. I know people who work at social media companies, and you know, someone somewhere allowed that to happen.
God, Palestinian terrorists are fighting for their freedom. When users started to post about this phenomenon on social media, Instagram quickly came out to say, yep, you guessed it, it was due to a technical glitch and they are very, very sorry. Another technical glitch occurred recently with WhatsApp's new feature where you write keywords to create stickers. Users who typed Muslim boy Palestinian got stickers of little kids holding guns, while the keyword Palestinian also generated a cartoon person holding a weapon. In contrast, no guns were generated by words like Israel or Israeli or even Israeli army.
Wow.
Meta said they're aware of the issue and are working to fix inaccuracies with the new feature. The technical glitch...
I missed that in my first watching of this. Unbelievable.
Mark Zuckerberg has to deal with. But he's not alone. In 2016, Google was criticized for removing the labels West Bank and Gaza from Google Maps. And yes, again, it was caused by a technical glitch. Google said there has never been a Palestine label on Google Maps. However, they discovered a bug that removed the labels for West Bank and Gaza Strip. After a Palestine is Here hashtag campaign, the occupied West Bank and Gaza were put back on the map. In 2021, as Palestinian...
My guess is that you guys in chat have experienced the same thing that I have, which makes this video so much more poignant to me, in the sense that, like, we have all probably at one time or another experienced being actively censored on YouTube, right, in chat or in comment sections, where things that we're saying that are criticizing Israel, that like no rational person could see as being like inciting, or as like racism, anti-Semitism, whatever you want to try and label some of this stuff as. And it's infuriating, right? You're just trying to use the free speech granted to you to be able to speak out, which was the whole intention of free speech. And granted, we all know this argument. We are on private platforms, so therefore the rules are not the law. They're dictated by a corporation. But we all know that these places are where we spend all of our time, and this kind of stuff. I didn't realize this kind of stuff until seeing this video, but there's so many examples that I can think of right now where I was being censored by just speaking up on CNN against radicals supporting IDF massacre of Palestinians. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
Were being displaced in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of occupied East Jerusalem, users started to notice pro-Palestinian content being deleted on Instagram and Twitter. The platforms came out to say, drumroll, it was a technical glitch, but Israel's former justice minister disagrees. Ayelet Shaked announced in a press conference that Facebook and its site companies Instagram and WhatsApp had complied with 95% of Israel's demands to take content down, while Google and YouTube had complied with 80% of the requests.
Getting tens of thousands of requests to the social media platforms annually. And when I say the word request, I don't mean a piece of content. I don't mean a tweet or a post. I mean a communication message that might have hundreds or maybe thousands of posts on social media platforms.
So this technical glitch is otherwise known as the Israeli Cyber Unit. In 2021, Human Rights Watch requested that Meta, formerly Facebook, bring an independent third party in to audit its practice in content moderation with regards to Israel and Palestine. The subsequently published report found that in 2022, Facebook was over-moderating content in Arabic and under-moderating content in Hebrew. They had a hostile speech classifier only for Arabic, but not for Hebrew. These platforms use a combined moderation approach, with AI-powered filtering algorithms and human content moderators manually flagging or taking down content. A jarring example was reported by The Intercept on October 18, when Instagram took down photos from the El Ahli hospital bombing in Gaza, claiming they were sexual. As of the date this video was made, Instagram has yet to apologize for this latest technical glitch in its series of technical glitches. So, have you experienced a technical glitch that seemed politically motivated?
Oh, believe me, I was screenshotting them. I don't know how many I have left because I was so disenfranchised I started deleting them, I think. But I have a bunch of comments that I had deleted that were in no way deserving of being deleted. Screenshot somewhere. BCat, you know me, okay? You know me. I'm in those chats hard. I'm in the messages telling, extremist right-wingers to go fuck themselves. So, just another day being me. Excuse me, let me focus back in. Hey. Do not start playing. You be my friend, okay? I think I'll start here.
The land of two rivers reduced to a trickle.
Oh, by the way, one thing that I was thinking but didn't say is that the companies just mentioned, Facebook and Google, both of them, we looked it up while on stream earlier, both of them happen to be companies with research facilities in Israel, right? And correlation isn't causation, but it's pretty easy to draw those lines, right? And Google recently just started construction, I think last year, around the time of the October 7th attack, they started building a multi-billion-dollar facility, a new one, for research purposes or something like that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm in 7 chats at a time. It's factual. It's factual
Iraq's once
information.
thriving waterways are being strangled by pollution. Less than half of the nation's population.
Yes. I have to restart this. But yes, what a coincidence, Mikat, indeed. Oh, well, good night. Good night, Environmental Coffee House. It was great having you. I'm glad that you were here for this. And don't forget to subscribe so you can come check the action whenever. I've been streaming a ton lately, so even in very strange hours, you might find me right here discussing the news of the day. Sounds great. Have a great night, Environmental Coffee House. That's right, Sandy. I keep calling you Environmental Coffee House because that's the name of your channel, but yes, you do have a name.
The land of 2 rivers reduced to a trickle. Iraq's once thriving waterways are being strangled by pollution. Less than half of the nation's population have access to clean drinking water.
Oh shit,
And
I
authorities
forgot to
say
switch back.
it's the
Hold on.
state that's to blame.
2/3 of the industrial and household wastewater are discharged untreated into the rivers. That means 6 million cubic meters dumped in the river daily untreated.
Unsafe water is a major cause of health issues in Iraq, where decades of instability has left critical infrastructure unable to support a growing population. In Baghdad, the major treatment plants are strained, under double their intended capacity, and water contaminated with sewage, medical waste and fertilizer is making its way into the river system completely unchecked.
The problem now is that fresh water is scarce because of the drought and decreasing rainfall. As a result, we have no water reserves to release to flush out the errors of other institutions.
Iraq's government has pledged to take steps to improve the country's water quality. It says it no longer approves pollution-creating projects unless they have a built-in treatment plan. One of those plans is in action at Baghdad's medical city, where a new wastewater plant is helping the hospital offset its impact.
The water which comes out after treatment is suitable for human consumption. It can be used for watering gardens, filling tanks, or designated for extinguishing fires, and any surplus flows into the Tigris.
Hoping to restore the river to its former glory, one surge at a time. Isabella Bull, TRT World.
Woof. Woof. Good old climate change and, pollution combined. I'm feeling very doomerific right now for some reason.
New York's Attorney General says she is ready to seize former President Trump's assets if he is unable to cover that $355 million judgment against him. Tish James says she wouldn't hesitate to seize one of his buildings, like 40 Wall Street, if necessary. She spoke with ABC's Aaron Katersky and says she is confident in the strength of the case, which the Trump team has vowed to appeal.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court. And so at the end of the day, how he pays for the judgment is really not my business.
But waiting to pay the judgment could be costly. He will earn
I
an
love
additional
that.
$87,502.
So good. And it's perfectly calculated, right? Because it's like she's not saying out loud that she doesn't give a fuck, but that's absolutely the implication. She doesn't care if she has to sell absolutely everything. That is not her responsibility. That's Donald Trump, the man who is responsible for paying this money. And that number is amazing. Because we all know that Donald Trump will do everything he can not to pay this, but that number is staggering. You've been pretty doomer all week, more than usual. Yeah, BCat, I know. And I'm right there with you. I think part of it is because it feels like the public attention, like in certain circles, is coming off of the Palestinian conflict. And for me, it couldn't be more front of mind. So it shocks me and it bothers me that people are turning away from it just because, oh, it's been a while. Well, guess what? I can guarantee it's felt like quite a while for Palestinians. The solar activity has been making you irritable. You know what? I haven't been monitoring my solar radar lately. Maybe I should be paying more attention. But let's be real. Let's just do some quick math because this should be fun. Oh, BCat, you are my chat goddess. Where is my calculator? I know I have a calculator on this stupid computer. There we go. Okay, calculator. Let's see. Let's do some math. 87,502. I want to be accurate. I don't want him coming and saying, "Oh, that's not how much money I owe." Oh, Trump, this is exactly how much money you owe. 87,502 times 365, assuming that they count interest on weekends, which banks do, so I'm sure they're going to. Oh, that's a big old number. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be laughing directly into your ear, but that's a huge number. 31,938,230 is how much Donald Trump would owe per year if he chooses not to pay this, which is effectively, I believe, nearly 10% of the verdict. What was the actual? I can't even remember. It was big. I remember it being quite large. It's just not in my head. Donald Trump summary judgment. How much? That didn't give it to me. I assumed that would do it. Trump owes how much? 300. Oh, okay, I was right. $354 million. So per year he will owe 10% of that figure if he decides to be, difficult. My God, that's a lot of money. He owes $350 million, but the interest, because like Letitia James was saying, it would be $87,502 per day. Advice. I'm afraid Nightbot doesn't give advice, but that is definitely an interesting command I may look into activating. Bella is just filled with interesting command ideas over there. Alright, Discord capture. What was next on the list? That is the question.
Per day in.
Yes, we know. Oh shit, I keep hitting MIDI player instead of regular. Oh, that actually would have been fine. Hold on. This is another video where I'm going to have to read, I think. Because Global News doesn't want to pay someone to read. Police in India attempted to disperse protesting farmers with tear gas as tensions arose after another round of talks with the government failed.
बातचीत में वो बैठक में तो कह रहे हैं लेकिन एक तरफ ऐसा हो रहा है हमारा एक किसान.
And one thing that I find very interesting about this right now, and I haven't watched this yet, I haven't done any preparation for it, it just looked like something deserving of coverage. If you're not aware, and I believe I'm correct about this, but these men are Sikhs, so to have Sikhs out there protesting, well, I would say that's probably a sign.
एक नौजवान इनकी गोली से या किस तरीके से कोई शैल बजा है वो पता करेंगे जाकर वो शहीद हो गया अगर हमारा एक बच्चा शहीद हो गया ऐसे हालात में बैठक करना मुझे उचित नहीं लगता अब जाएंगे दिल्ली की तरफ सभी लोग दिल्ली की तरफ जाने का बाद में अभी फैसला लेंगे पहले हमारी
If you're not aware, Sikhs are by religious values anti-violence, so to put themselves in a situation where violence is possible is, well, it says a lot.
जिम्मेदारी उस बच्चे को संभालना.
हम यही अपील करेंगे कि 5वीं दौर के बैठक के लिए हम सबको आगे बढ़ना चाहिए और ऐसे मुद्दे पर संवेदनशील होकर के हम अपना पक्ष रखें क्योंकि सरकार भी यह चाहती है कि इसका समाधान तत्कालिक दृष्टि से भी दीर्घकालिक दृष्टि से भी हमें समस्या का समाधान की दिशा में वार्ता के माध्यम से आगे बढ़ना है.
इस प्रकार की सूचनाएं आ रही थी हमारे पास कि प्रदर्शनकारी अपने साथ भारी मशीनरी जैसे जेसीबी, पोकलेन और हाइड्रा इत्यादि लेके आ रहे हैं. तो इस संबंध में हमने पंजाब पुलिस से भी रिक्वेस्ट किया है कि इस प्रकार की मशीनों को जो है बॉर्डर तक ना पहुंचने दें और हम प्रदर्शनकारियों से भी अपील करते हैं. और चूंकि उन्होंने खुद भी इस प्रकार की घोषणा कल शाम अपनी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में की है कि वे शांतिपूर्वक तरीके से धरना प्रदर्शन करना चाहते हैं, तो इस प्रकार की अपील का हम स्वागत करते हैं और हम उनसे एक बार दोबारा अपील करते हैं कि इस प्रकार के किसी भी मशीनरी को धरना स्थल पर ना लाएं.
जो ये स्पीकर वगैरह जनरेटर वगैरह लेके जा रहे हैं, जहाँ पे भी धरना लगेगा वहाँ बत्ती का और पब्लिक को कंट्रोल करने का और कोई साधन नहीं है, इससे ही कंट्रोल होगी. इसके अलावा किसानों के पास खाना है, चावल है, आटा है, दाल है, भट्टी है और कोई ऐसे हथियार नहीं है जिसका सरकार भरम पाल रही है. सरकार के पास फोर्सें हैं, उनके पास ताकत है, सरकार कुछ भी कर सकती है. लेकिन जो भी होगा, अगर आगुओं को गिरफ्तार करते हैं, उन पे तशद्दुद हटाते हैं, उन पे वक्त दराओं पे पर्चे डालकर उनको अलग अलग जेलों में भेजते हैं, वो देश के हित में होगा, देश बचेगा. हम देश बचाना चाहते हैं, ना कि अपने आप.
Well, solidarity with Indian farmers. Although, you know, there's a lot to this situation that I'm not privy to, which I think would be nice for context. Sorry, I'm not a treasure trove of all knowledge, but it did seem like something at least important enough to look at. Okay.
Now, we've been reporting for some time now that global shipping is severely disrupted by Houthi attacks on ships heading to the Suez Canal. But across the Atlantic, the other canal vital to international trade, the Panama Canal, is also suffering from major disruption as many fewer ships are now getting through. The culprit this time, though, is climate change, as Michelle Fleury reports.
Is this the world's most expensive traffic jam?
Ships lined up for days outside the Panama Canal last August. Roughly $270 billion worth of cargo flows through here each year. But this vital link between two oceans is running out of water, which is a huge problem for shipping companies and could spell trouble for global trade. The number of vessels that can pass through here each day has been slashed from 36 to 24. Jose Cervantes from shipping company Agunza told me this shortcut between the Pacific and Atlantic.
I believe that must be, what is that, 60%? I think. That's a problem.
Oceans is the natural route, warning if it's blocked, alternatives are needed, meaning more time and extra costs. Unlike the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal works by lifting boats up through a set of locks into an artificial lake 85 feet above sea level. But it means the canal here is reliant on...
Oh, right. I forgot that I was on delay. Absolutely, BCAT. Solidarity. Solidarity indeed.
Rainwater, which is in short supply.
2023 has been...
I did not realize that that's how the canal worked. It's very interesting. It's something of a, like, I know I'd heard about it being what do you call it? Like an engineering marvel during the time that it was made, but I had no idea it was to this degree of complexity. It's like it's like something just short of like Noah parting the seas. Obviously that's a mythical thing, but it's like the first thing that comes to mind when I look at this. It's throwing me off. Like water not supposed to do that.
Which is in short supply.
2023 has been the second driest year in the history of the Panama Canal.
Ilia Espina de Marotta, the canal's chief sustainability officer, says the drought, made worse by the El Nino weather phenomenon, is expected to last until May.
The big problem we're having is lack of rain. In the rainy season, which goes from May until December, we're supposed to get tons of rain and fill the lakes. This year, there was very little rain. We had El Nino year. And now that we're in summer, the lake started the summer with very low level. So we had to...
This is one of the things about climate change that people don't think about when it's said, right? Like your average person, when someone says climate change, they don't think disruption to supply lines and to human services and utilities and things like that, right? But if you're expecting rain and it doesn't come for something like this, or vice versa, you know, suddenly things are thrown completely out of imbalance, right? And not that I'm, you know, some huge like proponent of the global corporate like the global economic model that we live in. Just saying, based upon the fact that we live inside of that paradigm currently and are attempting to struggle against it, regardless of our success, like stuff like this will always cause us even more problems in trying to make change for the good. Because when stuff like this happens, people panic and they make bad decisions.
Cut down on number of ships being able to transit the canal.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Bella. I got my biblical references mixed up. Moses parted the sea, not Noah. He was the ark guy. Jesus saves, but Moses had a hedge fund. Wow, the biblical comedy coming from Bella is on point today. My goodness.
To maintain the lake level through the summer.
On Gatun Lake, the freshwater reservoir that feeds the locks, the canal's hydrologist Nelson Guerra showed us firsthand the scale of the problem.
The level is, as you see in the rule, is 81.20 feet. The level should be 5 feet more than now.
To conserve water, fewer boats are allowed to pass through the Panama Canal each day. This is one of the lucky ones. But a changing climate is putting billions of dollars of trade at risk and raises difficult questions about the future of this engineering marvel. The Canal Authority is trying to reuse as much water as possible. It's considering building more reservoirs to store water and is even exploring cloud seeding to make it rain more.
We believe it's climate change. If you look at the world 2023, the Amazon River, very low. Mississippi River had to stop transits, very low level.
Woof.
So it's not only Panama, it's the world.
I'm not involved in shipping, nor do I live in Panama, but that photo is quite alarming.
Has seen a lot of different climate situations this 2023.
While other routes suffer disruption from politics and piracy, the problems at the Panama Canal are a reminder that climate change may yet be the biggest crisis for global trade. Michelle Fleury, BBC News, Panama Canal.
Wow. Bella Lugosi with a ice sheet joke? My God. My God. Oh, Lord. Even the ice sheets are cracking up, huh? Well, okay. We're going to do something here.
The land of two rivers.
Two things. I am going to switch us over to what I've been somewhat avoiding because of the difficult nature of it. Oh, it's absolutely devastating, BK.
Each delegation is kindly requested to keep to the maximum speaking time of 30 minutes for its presentation. This afternoon, the court will observe a short break after the presentation of the Gambia. I shall now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation, His Excellency Mr. Vladimir Tarabrin. You have the floor, Excellency.
Mr. President,
all right, chat, I am going to quickly smoke a joint. I will be in chat watching with you. Just need to step away from the desk.
Members of the court, it's an honor for me to be representing the Russian Federation at these hearings. Seizing this opportunity, I would like to congratulate you, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, and all the new judges of the court upon election to your respective positions. We trust that the court, in its new composition, will continue making its immeasurable contribution to peaceful resolution of disputes and development of international law. Mr. President, the current proceedings originate in the adoption by the General Assembly of Resolution 77/247 back in December 2022. When adopting the resolution, the General Assembly was gravely concerned by the tension and violence in the recent period throughout the occupied Palestinian territories. The Assembly noted the continuing systematic violation of the human rights of the Palestinian people by Israel, the occupying power, including that arising from the excessive use of force and military operations causing death and injury to Palestinian civilians. The Assembly also spoke of the arbitrary imprisonment and detention of Palestinians, the use of collective punishment, the closure of areas, the confiscation of land, the establishment and expansion of settlements, the destruction of property and infrastructure, the demolition of Palestinian homes, the forced displacement of civilians, and the disastrous humanitarian situation and the critical socio-economic and security situation in the Gaza Strip. As has been stressed by numerous delegations speaking at these hearings, the situation on the ground has since deteriorated in a dramatic fashion. The Gaza Strip, since October 2023, has been an area of intense hostilities, This time, violence has taken an unprecedented and indeed a catastrophic scale. The overall number of victims during the current wave of violence, almost 30,000, has already surpassed the figure from any of the previous Arab-Israeli wars. Images from Gaza are terrifying. Indiscriminate airstrikes are killing civilians and erasing whole residential districts. More than half of all buildings in the Gaza Strip have been destroyed. Up to 90% of Gazans have been forced to leave their homes and are living in inhuman conditions. Against the backdrop of the tough Israeli blockade, the Gaza Strip is experiencing a genuine humanitarian catastrophe. Its inhabitants are suffering from an acute shortage of food, medication and fuel. Access to sources of clean water has been limited, resulting in a spread of infectious diseases. Over 20% of agricultural lands have been damaged and will never be recultivated. Mr. President, Russia, of all countries, understands the dangers of terrorism. We have faced this evil time and again. Let me use this opportunity to reiterate our heartfelt condolences to the Israelis who lost their loved ones in the attack on the 7th of October. Brutal massacre of innocent people, taking of hostages, and other terrorist violence do not have and cannot have any justification. We have repeatedly condemned such acts. Let me also stress that Russia highly values the stable relations that we enjoy with Israel. We are united by shared history of combating Nazism, as well as by a myriad of present-day human ties. Our cooperation is resilient in the face of geopolitical turbulence, and we are committed to its further development. Having said this, we are convinced that the tragic events of the 7th of October cannot justify the collective punishment of more than 2 million Gazans. We cannot accept the logic of those officials in Israel and some Western countries who try to defend the indiscriminate violence against civilians by referring to Israel's duty to protect its nationals. Violence can only lead to more violence. Hatred brings hatred. This vicious circle must be broken. In Russia's view, security both for Israel and the Palestinians can only be ensured if the root cause of the current crisis is addressed. Outbreaks of violence will inevitably occur again until the Palestinian people, having suffered for decades from injustice, exercises its right to establish an independent state. That state, in accordance with the Security Council and General Assembly resolutions, is to emerge within the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Only this approach, based on international law, can bring a lasting peace for the region and security for Palestinians and Israelis alike. This is the spirit that has been guiding Russia in fulfilling its responsibilities as a mediator between Palestine and Israel, notably as a member of the so-called Quartet, alongside the United Nations, the United States, and the European Union. The history of the conflict shows what happens when Security Council resolutions are ignored and influential global actors are incapable of or unwilling to help the parties find consensual solutions. Attempts to put the conflict into a low-intensity mode instead of a comprehensive settlement have time and again provoked eruptions in the occupied territories. The current wave of violence is no exception. It was preceded by a persistent policy of the United States and its allies aimed at freezing the status quo, watering down the political processes, promoting a one-sided vision of a settlement. Among the victims of such short-sighted and irresponsible approach was the quartet of mediators, those of mediators whose work has been effectively blocked by the United States. This flawed policy of Washington has predictably led to a failure that has cost thousands of innocent lives. Today, all responsible members of the international community are facing a difficult task of creating conditions to lead the situation out of the current impasse. After the violent phase has been overcome, the parties will need help in establishing a full-fledged political dialogue, allowing them to settle all disputes on the universally recognized international legal basis. Russia hopes that the advisory opinion of the court will contribute to achieving this goal. Mr. President, a lot has already been said in this hall on the numerous violations of international law by Israel. Russia supports the assessments given in the General Assembly Resolution 77/247 and the respective reports of the Secretary General. We also support relevant resolutions of the Human Rights Council based on the reports of its Special Rapporteur. In today's statement, let me focus on two of the most important aspects. The first one is the persistent denial by Israel of the right of Palestinians to self-determination. The right to self-determination through the establishment of an independent Palestinian state has been at the heart of efforts of the international community. This right has been recognized by the General Assembly, the Security Council, and by this court. It's worth recalling that the principle of self-determination of peoples is one of the foundations of the United Nations, mentioned in the very first article of its charter. Every state has the duty to refrain from any forcible action which deprives peoples of their right to self-determination. Meanwhile, as recognized by the General Assembly, the protracted Israeli occupation prevents the Palestinians from implementing that right. An end to the Israeli occupation has been identified as a goal for the international community by legally binding resolutions of the Security Council, including Resolution 2334. Israel is accordingly under an obligation to cease its violations of international law and to allow the Palestinian people to establish an independent state. This necessarily means that the occupation must come to an end. The other key problem that leads to continuous violations of human rights of Palestinians are the Israeli settlement activities. This policy, sometimes referred to as creation of facts on the ground, was launched back in 1967 and has led to progressive shrinking of Palestinian lands. This has effectively undermined prospects of a negotiated solution of the one element of the final status, namely the issues of territory and borders. The overall number of Israeli settlers in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, is over 700,000. The situation is exacerbated by other arbitrary moves by the Israeli authorities, such as confiscation of lands, demolition of homes, and prohibition of new construction. Most recently, this has been accompanied by violence emanating from Israeli settlers. In 2023, that is after the present request for an advisory opinion was made, the settlement activities of Israel have gained a record-breaking speed. Thus, according to the latest reports of the United Nations Secretary General, in 2023, plans for more than 700,000 housing units were advanced, approved, or tendered. This is more than double than 11,700 units in 2022, which in itself was a remarkable figure.
Okay, I'm back.
During the current wave of violence, we have witnessed public statements by Israeli cabinet members announcing plans to resume settlement activities in the Gaza Strip. Thus, on the 28th of January 2024, at a conference in West Jerusalem, cabinet ministers openly called for deportation.
You're right. The community is growing, and we just got to keep working at it and do what we can to support one another and people who are espousing ideas that we agree with.
South Africa versus Israel case. The court agreed that the situation in Gaza poses risks
And, you know,
of
having a little fun
irreparable
while we're
harm
at it,
to the rights
hopefully.
of Palestinians guaranteed by the Genocide Convention. This fact alone underscores the gravity of the situation. In this connection, it's worth recalling that this court, in its advisory opinion on the wall, recognized that the Israeli settlement in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, had been established in breach of international law. As explained in that advisory opinion, the settlements are contrary to the principle of inadmissibility of acquisition of territory by force. They also contradict the provisions of the Fourth Geneva Convention, prohibiting transfers of population and deportations from an occupied territory. Resolutions of the Security Council have characterized that policy as changing the legal status and geographical nature of the occupied territories and materially affecting their demographic composition. In its resolution 2334, the Security Council reaffirmed that the settlements have no legal validity and constitute a flagrant violation under international law and a major obstacle to the achievements of the two-state solution.
Did either of you happen to catch which delegate this is? Like which country he's from? I think it's something Eastern European, maybe Russian, but it's hard to tell.
And the just, lasting, and comprehensive peace. This policy...
BCAT, so true. We gotta find fun somewhere because we consume tragedies more than the average person. I would say on a daily basis, it feels like.
Aggravated by numerous violations of other rules of international humanitarian law and human rights law. These include the right to life, to respect for private and family life, to property, to freedom of movement, to freedom of religion, to work, to health, to education, and to an adequate standard of living. As mentioned earlier, this policy continues unabated in defiance of Security Council resolutions and the Quartet roadmap. Importantly, as stressed in Resolution 2334, the settlements are dangerously imperiling the viability of the two-state solution based on the 1967 lines. They are thus also violating the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. Israeli policies in Palestine, to Russia's deep regret, include other
Russia.
international law violations. Many examples have been provided by other delegations here. The Russian Federation expects the court to give them due consideration. Mr. President,
I gotta say, I am gonna skip past this guy because while I agree with what he's saying, it's a moot point to me. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, Israel, Israel's committing a war crime, sure, but Russia's in the middle of committing their own war crime right now, and when you're doing that, you don't get to get on a soapbox and criticize people. it's like when Andrew Tate came out with his Palestine take. You know, like like did I agree with the words he was saying in his take? Yeah. I don't know if any of you saw it. I didn't actually see any leftists cover it because they were probably as equally appalled at the thought of agreeing with him as I am. You know, we don't have to listen to all the good takes and praise all the good takes. You know, some people don't deserve praise.
Federation for its presentation. J'invite maintenant la délégation de l'État participant suivant, la France, à prendre la parole devant la Cour et appelle Monsieur Diego Colas à la barre. Monsieur Colas, vous avez la parole.
Merci. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les juges, c'est un grand honneur pour moi de représenter mon pays devant la Cour.
Oh, God. God dang it. Look what they did. We're in another situation. I thought that we solved it, and I was wrong. We tried this slightly earlier to the same effect on a different video of this. Why does nobody have a video of this with translations? I speak French, so I can actually understand what he's doing or saying, but I'm not good enough at speaking French to be able to actively translate for you all and hear what he's saying. So I am going to have to switch videos. Oh, son of a gun. I actually tried live translating it earlier, and it did not go well. The Palestinians... sorry, I need to look at chat. Palestinians don't deserve a liability like Tate because we know why Tate supports them, and it's only exactly, it's only nefarious in nature. Because you're right on as usual. And you know, like I think I recently criticized someone, not live on stream, but in like their comment section, because the thing is, I genuinely respect the person who I'm about to talk about. But maybe we should watch this because it was genuinely a little frustrating to me. I was wondering, and I kind of wanted to hear other people's takes on it, but never got the opportunity. This might be an opportunity to do that. Although I don't know if I want to actively criticize him right now, because I honestly like the guy, but I mean I've already done it, so I don't even know if that matters. But I'll just explain it, and then maybe you guys can tell me if that's what you want to do. Because right now I'm really kind of open to it. I think we made it through most of my list. Oh, Ryan George is hilarious. I know exactly who you're talking about, Bella. It's actually super easy, barely an inconvenience. But what is it? Oh, right. Mark Lamont Hill. I think we've all seen great coverage from him. We all know he works at Al Jazeera currently. He used to formerly work at MSNBC. I can't remember where he formerly worked at, but he worked at a mainstream media organization, and like the recent departure of Mehdi Hassan had to find another avenue to be able to do his work. However, recently I saw a video of him after the Palestine situation where he was actively complimenting Dave Chappelle for one of his takes. I believe it was on the Israel-Palestine thing, but I actually have to go back and watch it, but I'm pretty sure. And exactly, I love, like, to be perfectly frank, I feel almost uncomfortable criticizing him, but in this particular instance, I feel like he had so many other options, you know, and I know that he's a creator that's currently trying to do his best, and he's trying to get to a place where he can be making a living from this sort of stuff. But yes, BCAT, like, it was uncomfortable for me to even bring it up, but it was the example that came to mind immediately for me, right? Where it's the same sort of idea where you're praising somebody who doesn't deserve praise, right? Even if they're right about something, it doesn't mean that it absolves them. And so, you know, and the thing is, the rest of the stuff that he does, generally speaking, I completely agree with. And so I don't want anybody to take away from this that I'm somehow a Mark Lamont Hill hater. Not even close. I genuinely respect the man, and I hope to be as successful as him one day. But I hope if I do ever become that successful, I won't stoop to giving people compliments just for content. And I'm not necessarily saying that's what he was doing. He may genuinely disagree with me and believe that Dave Chappelle deserves praise. So I don't want to speak for him. But just from what I saw, I was just a little disappointed by that one video. The rest of the stuff, I still subscribe to his channel on multiple accounts and I watch his videos. But that one take, I really was a little disappointed in. I thought he could have at least examined it slightly more before he put it out there. I wonder, does Sky News have the actual... I'd hate to try this again and find that I'm left in the same circumstance. Well, while I try and salvage what's happening here, because I thought I had come up with a solution for that ICJ video. Throw it a little bit of music on, just for my brain. No, absolutely, BCAT, and I agree with your take on that, right? Like, it's important, like, and I think the act of calling each other out should be less about canceling each other and more about not gatekeeping necessarily, but about coming to collaborative consensus on some things as the leftist community, if you will. And granted, there's plenty of disagreement among leftists. I mean, we all know about the existence of center-left types of people, and they can be very frustrating. I certainly wouldn't put Mark Lamont Hill into that camp, I don't think. But yeah, I think the act of like checking people to some degree, I think, is helpful so that we don't go down that wrong path, right? Not that we should abandon people just for making a mistake like that, if it in fact was a mistake. Obviously, there's no context for it because I certainly am not in the mind of Mark Lamont Hill. I'm sure there's plenty I don't know to his opinions, but I certainly know enough about Dave Chappelle's current take on most things to know that he's not the sort of guy that as leftists we should be supportive of. The only thing I'm supportive of is him changing his attitude on things. Oh my god. This just came out 2 hours ago. We're gonna have to watch this. It's a short clip. For fuck's sake. Of course they did. Of course they did. Of course they did. Of course, why wouldn't they? Jesus Christ. Oh. This won't be revelatory to anyone, I don't think, necessarily, but we're gonna watch this. This is bullshit. just to preface this with a very inflammatory sort of comment, the Likud should all be in The Hague right now, not running the country. Let me turn off my music, fix the scene. Good God. The world we're living in right now, I swear to all things holy, and I am no religious man, but when I was technically raised in a Christian household, so when things get here, I start using stuff like that. Okay, well, full screen this mug. Okay, this face. Well, these two faces. What is this? Gallant and Yoav Gallant, and right? Is that his name? I could be wrong. And Benjamin Netanyahu here might give you an idea of what's about to come down. But here, it's a little clip. Wrap your mind around.
אינו נוכח. ירון לוי.
The people of Israel and their elected representatives are united today as never before. The Knesset voted overwhelmingly to oppose any attempt to unilaterally impose a Palestinian state on Israel. Such an attempt will only endanger Israel and will prevent the genuine peace that we all seek. Peace can only be achieved after we achieve total victory over Hamas and through direct negotiations between the parties, direct negotiations without preconditions.
So, if that was a little bit too floral language for you all to discern the meaning of that sentence, excuse my floral language. Yeah, okay, at least BCAT seems to be on my page right now. If that wasn't clear, old BB Nut Butter over here has just clued us in that the Likud government running Israeli parliament has just voted to make official that the Israeli government backs, well, not backs, excuse me, the opposite of backing, officially oppose the formation of a Palestinian state. So they've just come out and said that they are officially against a two-state solution. Okay, folks, remember this, because this is historical. This will have huge downstream effects to any idea of a negotiation moving forward. It's a frickin' bomb. Exactly, Libella. It's a frickin' bomb. And I mean that in the most metaphorical possible way, YouTube. That is absolutely just wow. Okay, that's the end of the video, for God's sake. How is this where we're at? They're psychopaths, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. They have no moral compass. And here's the thing that I don't think that even they are considering right now about this whole situation. Right? What are the implications for them? Because the two-state solution, all the Zionists recently that I've heard talking about this, like the actual politics of it, since there's barely any of it seemingly, it's mostly just been killing. But the actual sort of politics, they've all been saying two-state, right? Because they don't want to have to take in the Palestinians as voting citizens, right? Because that's been one of the main things people who are really, like people like Norman Finkelstein, for instance, right? Who we were watching earlier. Like we watched the whole Norman Finkelstein Rabbi Shmuley debate on Piers Morgan, and yeah, no, it's unsurprising, but taking that official position on this situation, it means a great deal down the line, because I think they pigeonholed themselves. They look really self-satisfied in this picture, in the scene that I'm looking at right now. But I think that they're getting ahead of themselves. Now that I'm sitting here and trying to analyze it, right? The fact is, this whole time they've been the ones saying two-state solution, two-state solution, two-state solution, because we and the subtext of it is we can't have a massive voting bloc entering our quote unquote democracy, right? That oppose a lot of the stuff we're doing. Yeah, no kidding. Shmuley is the worst. Wow. Honestly, it could be good. It could be good. Because if that's where they're starting off from, right? When hopefully negotiations actually begin they technically began, but the United States has not involved itself in any way. And I feel like this is kind of, I'm not a huge fan of this framing, but I feel like negotiations don't really start until the US gets involved. Because we've been the main supporter of Israel this whole time. We've been helping fund their war for years. And if we're starting from a one-state solution, hopefully, one would think that includes Palestinians, unless, I don't know, the international community is going to accept an actual exodus of Palestinians from Israel. How does this work? Right, it's 100% short-sighted. It's one of the most short-sighted moves I've ever seen. It runs completely counter to their narrative that Palestine can be its own state, and it has to be its own state because Israel wants nothing to do with these people who supposedly want their destruction and not rights or freedom. And wow. That just happened. This happened 2 hours ago in the middle of the night. Hey, it was a pleasure, Bella. It was good seeing you. I'm glad to have you. Hopefully you have subscribed already and you'll be able to make it to our next streams. And considering how late it is, I think it's probably a good time for me to wrap it up here. So I can get some sleep and not sleep through the first half of the majority part like I've done twice this week because I've been streaming so much. It's actually happened multiple times in the last few weeks when I've been trying to get this all back up and going. So I hope that you all have a fantastic night. Until I see you next, you stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Oh, I'm just going to throw one thing in chat. Guess I got to do it from here because that page isn't working. Good night, BCat. That's weird. The Discord, I still need to update the Discord thing. Hold on. That's weird. Get it later. You all have a fantastic night.